A little over a year ago, Sister Terry and Brother Paul asked me to do the honor of facilitating events for their special project, Paws for Purple Hearts. They envisioned two major events, one in the north and one in the south, along with various events put on by our members, chapters, districts, or associations. After chairing this project in 2012, I was thrilled to be given this opportunity again. So I put a call out to our members to chair the two major events, as both dates were times I could not be there in person. I was a little worried as I did not receive responses right away, but then two very special ladies stepped up and said they would take on these very important events. Sister Maria Jo Miller called me to ask how she could help, and I immediately said, "Oh, by chairing the event." She went right to work and brought in her chapter and area by planning an Oktoberfest on August 17, 2019. With her thinking outside the box, they held a garage sale that was open to the public, served buffet style, the public, and offering tours of the Masonic Lodge, which was followed by the social hour and then dinner served buffet style with all the food you would expect for an Oktoberfest. The community was invited to sponsor tables to raise additional funds. Letters were also sent to each chapter to purchase dog bones for our worthy Grand Matron and worthy Grand Patron. The Rainbow Girls hosted doggy bags to take home dessert bags filled with dog bones and cupcakes. A local veteran made 3 signs that included the American flag, Paws for Purple Hearts and Eastern Star artwork. One item was placed on Facebook for a live auction. The other 2 were auctioned off by our past Grand Patron, Art Weiss. This innovative event raised well over $10,000. My heart was overwhelmed, and my eyes filled with tears upon reading that report, and I still do. Martha, thank you for teaching me how to do that. On June 1st, 2019, the Southern event for Paws was held at the Anaheim Demolay Center with the theme of sock hop at the dog pound. With 50s theme, a picnic-style fried chicken dinner, and 50s music, a representative from Paws with her dog gave a presentation for those in attendance. A total of 7 lost puppies as well as pens were sold, and after all was said and done, a total of $989 was collected for Paws for Purple Hearts. I received a few additional reports about so many activities and events held throughout California in support of Paws for Purple Hearts. At Semper Fidelis chapter in Livermore, they held a wine tasting event at a local vineyard. I know we all like that part, right? They received $10 per person as well as 10% of the winery sales from all the customers that evening, even those not from Eastern Star, and 10% from the various vendors that had been contacted and were there to sell items. They hosted 2 representatives from Paws as well as Paws for Purple Hearts dog Larson, who is here today. It is believed that the tip jar was a bit fuller because of Larson. A total of $607 was raised at this event. Ferndale chapter hosted a community event on August 11, 2019 at the Ferndale Veterans Hall on behalf of Paws for Purple Hearts. A Marine Corps veteran who received a dog from Paws and is now a regional director, along with his dog Larson, came and spoke about the organization. They did an informative demonstration, which we'll see in a minute, for those in attendance. There were about 60 community members, including veterans, one with a service dog. The veterans were very impressed, and they made several donations to the cause. One veteran even filled out an application and is now on his way to getting a Paws for Purple Hearts dog. This really put the name of Eastern Star out to their local community as well as Paws for Purple Hearts. Wistaria chapter in Turlock went a different direction by giving the officers at their 2019 installation decorated red mason jars with star-shaped slots in the lids. That evening and at subsequent meetings, red jars were also given to every sideliner. The worthy matron then asked that they collect change throughout the year. This is with the thought that our small change will make a small change in the financial health of the various charities that members chose. This resulted in members donating to many charities and $115 to Paws for Purple Hearts. Over $500 was donated to Paws by a vote of the chapter as they were so moved by the thought of coming together to help one another. New Hope chapter in Folsom used their traditional August meeting ice cream social as an opportunity to support Paws for Purple Hearts. Matt Decker, a veteran and Paws for Purple Hearts director, visited their chapter. The chapter then voted to donate additional funds to those raised by the ice cream social to make it a $500 donation. After the chapter was closed, Matt and his service dog Larson gave a presentation about training involved with a service dog. Some of the girls from the local Rainbow Assembly came to see the demonstration too. Some of the other chapters were Santa Lucia held a dinner making $344.41. Los Cerritos chapter had a dinner and raised $750. Mission Bell had a dinner and cakewalk, which raised $831. Those are just a few of the reports I received, and I know there was many more out there. California Order of the Eastern Star is honored to raise funds for Paws for Purple Hearts, where warriors help warriors. The members indeed feel like we have made a difference in the lives of these amazing women and men who have served their country. Thank you, worthy Grand Matron and worthy Grand Patron, for choosing Paws for Purple Hearts as your special project and giving me that honor once again since 2012. Thank you so much for that. At this time, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing the woman that started it all. Dr. Bonnie Bergen, the founder and creator of the service dog program, Paws for Purple Hearts. Please give her a hearty welcome.
Thank you very much, and it's been a delight to see some of the faces from 2012 when we did this very same thing. I want to tell you a little bit about how the service dog came into being. I know some of you have heard this story from me over and over, but some of you hopefully haven't. My husband and I went and taught in Australia. We took a trip through Asia and Europe, and went back and taught in Turkey for a year and came back to the United States. And when we arrived back, the mainstreaming law had gone through, and that was going to put disabled individual students into the classrooms. And I didn't know anything about disabilities at all, and I wanted to make sure I was prepared. So I went into a master's program on special ed. And while I was in there, I was very, very shy. I'm still a little shy, but not like I was then. And I sat there very quietly because I knew I didn't know anything. And at one point throughout the class, the instructor asked, what do you, the students in this class, think could be done for people with disabilities? Because so many people at that time, and this we're talking 45 years ago, so many people at that time were institutionalized if they were disabled. And one of the students said, oh, I think better nutritious meals should be served in these institutions. And another said stainless steel should be put on the walls to reduce the viral and bacterial problems in these institutions. And I had just come back from watching and living in countries that had virtually dirt highways and dirt sidewalks and nothing of the kind of amenities we had in this country. So it was kind of a shock to hear the idea of stainless steel going on a wall. And so I finally got up the nerve to raise my hand to say something, and I started to say that in Asia when we were there I had seen disabled people, and I'd seen a lot of them out and about, and they screamed at me, don't you dare say anything about people in Asia, they let their disabled people die. And I'm like totally shook, just shaking in my boots. I was so shy, and I finally tried to say something and I just died. And I sat there and I thought, what could be done? What could be done to really help people, get them out of institutions, give them a chance to live the kind of independent lives I'd seen in Asia? And I just went, dogs. And that's where it started. And from that point on, I went to I didn't know anything about training dogs. I had a pet dog. My husband and I took him everywhere with us, but we didn't know anything about training. So I went down to Guide Dogs for the Blind and asked them to think about doing this idea. And they said, no, it couldn't be done, wouldn't work, it would be bad for the dogs, bad for people with disabilities, don't even think about it. And then I couldn't let go. I just couldn't let go. And I don't know why. You have an epiphany sometimes and you just can't let go. And I remember these two people that were really strongly stuck in my mind. One was in Kathmandu when there was a person from Kathmandu who couldn't walk very well, who was leaning on a burro as the burro walked along the dirt road. And then he sat on the street corner and sold his pots and pans. So he made a living. But the other one was even more dramatic for me. And that was one of the teachers that I worked with took me up to a rooftop restaurant in Ankara, Turkey. And it was right in the middle of the city. And that's a 6-lane freeway that goes through the city. And there was a gentleman, a peasant actually, and he was flat out on his stomach. And he was using his elbows to propel his body, dragging his body behind him down a sidewalk that I could see from where I was sitting. And then he, not only did he do that, but then he turned and he drug himself off the sidewalk and onto the pavement and crossed the 6-lane freeway with all these cars going by, and I'm like just absolutely freaked out. And he made it across, and he got up, and he didn't get up. He just continued to crawl up the sidewalk and out of my view. And I'm looking around the restaurant, and I'm the only tourist there, or the only one who wasn't a Turk, I should say, and nobody noticed. Nobody looked, nobody was shocked, because that was the way people lived in that country. And so when I thought about what could we do, and I thought about, no way would the city of Santa Rosa let donkeys go down the street of town. So I had to give that idea. So when I went to the idea of dogs, I didn't really know what to do. I just thought, dogs can do it. And I, do what? I didn't know. So I called the Disabled Center in Santa Rosa, and I talked to the receptionist, because I was hoping that I could get the CEO to take it over. I had no intention of doing it myself. And the CEO, the receptionist said, well, first you have to tell me what the idea is before I'll let you talk to the CEO, which is good receptionist. But so I told her, and as I'm telling her about it, she's listening very carefully, and then I'm kind of waiting for her to let me talk to the CEO, and instead she said, I'll do it. And I went, I don't know who you are, but let's meet and talk about it. So when we met, it turned out that she was a quadriplegic. She had no strength in her body, literally. If her head fell forward, she didn't even have enough neck muscle to lift it back up. She had to have someone come along and push it up. And I'm thinking, whoa, I don't see her being able to do this. And then she said, let's do it together. And I said, okay, we'll do it. And I knew nothing. So, but I was a teacher, and I did know how to teach. So we actually, my husband and I had just had a litter of puppies. So we took one of the puppies and started working with her with the puppy. And I asked her, what do you want the dog to do? What do you need done? I didn't even know that. And she said, well, I have 24-hour attendant care, but I don't like people around me all the time. I really would like to have time to be alone. And so if I drop something, I don't like to have to call somebody from another room to come out and pick it up for me. Could the dog do that? And I said, sure. I had no idea, but I just said, sure. And then she said, sometimes my attendant does go grocery shopping and leaves me home alone. And when she leaves, it's in the daytime. When she comes back, it's night. And I've been sitting in the dark all that time. She said, can the dog be trained to turn the light switch on? And I said, sure. And, I kind of thought it could, but I had no idea how to do it. And then another thing she asked me in this question and answer period was, if, sometimes when the attendant leaves, she'll leave a sack lunch in the refrigerator. Is it possible that the dog could open the refrigerator door and get that sack lunch out and bring it over to me? Of course, you know what my answer was at that point. Anyway, we started doing it. We worked together and we trained the dog together. We looked at all these things that she felt she needed to make her life better. And within 2 years, that dog and she went everywhere in Sonoma County, everywhere together, and did all kinds of things together. And honestly, this credit goes to those two, Carrie Canals and Ogwood, the very first service dog and the very first service dog handler. And they had their lives transition everybody. And now service dogs are all over the world, and people are doing it and living an opportunity, having an opportunity to live these really independent lives. Eastern Star helped Paws for Purple Hearts in 2012. We had one site in Menlo Park. We now have another big site in San Diego, and Paws for Purple Hearts has 5 other sites around the United States. We are really helping. We've helped thousands of veterans, and it has just been a pleasure, and it's my pleasure to introduce PPH's clinical director, Matt Decker.
Let's see, is it afternoon yet? No, it's still morning. Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
So, obviously you could tell based on the introduction that a number of you have seen me before. So I'd like to try something different. Everybody okay with that? So, I want to speak to the mothers and fathers in the room. At 10, you asked us to be nice. You asked us to behave, to be good citizens. 8 years later, we turned 18. And because you taught us so well, we decided to serve something greater than ourselves. So we joined the military. Now, the military changed the rules on us. You spent 18 years teaching us how to be a good citizen, to be nice, not to yell, to speak up, don't hit. And at 18, we go off to basic training, and the rules are hit, yell, do things that you just spent 18 years not being trained not to do. And that's okay. I know my voice is coming from everywhere. You don't even know where to go. Dad is everywhere. Let's go. And so, we went off to war. The government that we elected said, there is a threat to our nation's security, and we need you to go and to do things that you trained 18 years not to do. We spent 3 years training you to be a warrior. And we said yes. And we went and we did the job. But because we spent 18 years learning to be the good boy and good girl, to be your son, to be your daughter, and then went to war. When we came back, we struggled. We weren't entirely sure which rules to follow. We wanted to be that same son and daughter that you had when we went off to basic training, but we couldn't. We changed. And you saw the change. You knew it was there. And you weren't sure what to do with it either. Some of us struggled harder than others, and through that we sought refuge in our friends, our family, the VA, our brothers and sisters in arms. Some of us took meds, and some of us found symptom relief therein. But I don't like meds. And there's a handful of my brothers and sisters that don't like meds either. And we found service dogs. And we found comfort. And we found love. Not that you didn't provide it, but it's a different type of love. It's a love that's replicated by our brothers and sisters that we went to war with. It's an unconditional positive regard that allows us to know that even though we struggle, that our battle buddy's there 100% of the time. And we can cry into their fur. We can wipe our nose with their fur. And they don't care. They just want the loves, they want the cuddles. They want to help us feel better. So, I get the question a lot, what makes a good service dog? Well, he likes to visit other people. We've done a little too much group therapy. Come on, buddy. He also loves doing these presentations because he gets paid. He doesn't usually get paid. He'll do anything. Sit. It's coming from everywhere. Wait. So we want basic obedience. We need to know that we put the dog in a specific position, that they're going to stay there until we ask them to do something. Let's go. Boy. Yeah. We need to know that when we need a little extra support, sit. Sit. Stay. We need to know that they're going to be there when we need a little extra. Larson, come. Lap. Lap. Attaboy. I usually do this in a chair. Thank you. We need to know that when we need someone to touch us, someone to do something, that they can respond. Larson, touch. Siri thinks I need something too. Touch. Touch. Because that wasn't there in Iraq. Touch. Good boy. He wasn't there in Iraq. What do I know? I'm right here, in this room with all of you. Touch. Good boy. Sit. Now if it gets really bad, and I'm at home. Now I'm lucky. I am lucky in the sense that I do not have a problem in crowds. You can tell. Hello. I don't have a problem in crowds. However, Bonnie and I drove out here last night because we wanted to make sure we were here bright and early in the morning, got a good night's rest. I have a problem being alone. When I'm alone is when the demons creep in. So I'm in my hotel room alone, doing the thing that I hate doing, being alone. And Larson is right next to me. And it's time to go to bed. I like to go to bed at 8:30. I have a 2-year-old at home. And I can't fall asleep. And so I try and get a little bit of extra decompression time, I like to call it. And I take out my cell phone and I watch an episode of something fun. You don't get to go play with the Smurfs or snowmen. And I finish an episode of something cheeky and fun-loving, and I still can't fall asleep. And so I run my hand down the side of the bed, and there's Larson laying right next to me. And Larson licks my hand for about 5 minutes, and I don't remember what happened after that, because I fell asleep. But I got the licks that I needed. And in those times, I'm going to have to put the mic down for this, but in those times we have a very specific command when it's a little too much, and I'm going to demonstrate it now. We call that lay on. And if there is nothing better in the world, and if I can't remember where I am, between the dog's body pressure on my chest and the smell of his breath, boy, that'll tell you where you are real quick. I want to thank everybody for the support. I want to thank everybody for their generosity. And we have a little military tradition. If Suzanne can come down here, where did you go? Come here. So when you've done something special, when you've started something, we like to show a token of appreciation. And for those of you, because you're all far away, won't be able to see this, a military tradition of the coin. Thank you. Thank you all again for your support. And if anybody has any questions, I'll make sure I spend a little bit of time back there. And yes, you can pet the dog.
Thank you so much, Matt. And Larson.
One more, I feel relaxed. I feel loved. Using the dog in therapy provides an additional outlet for veterans that other human beings can't provide. In a sense, they're really helping you with you not even realizing it. I feel like when I'm with dogs, that defensive barrier comes down, and I'm able to feel the emotions that I've suppressed for so long.
Well, I know everybody would love to come up here and pet the dog. And Marcy would probably love that as well. We're going to have a video there just queuing it up, and it'll probably make you all cry, so grab your tissues. All right, that was good. You can see the testimonies of how these dogs, those few men that were on the screen, were able to resume lives. And as Dr. Bergen explained, it's what a great program that has been created, and a number of people that have benefited and will continue to.
On behalf of California Order Mason Star, we would like to present you.
This is an important project.
We'd like to present you a check for $22,000.
Directly to their organization, and people still have the opportunity to donate if they wish and continue ongoing. I know a lot of chapters do plan to do what they would like to do, here or later, and it all goes definitely for the purpose of helping our veterans through these talks that give them back their independence. Even the dogs work for money. Dr. Bergen was in Job's daughter's in her youth, so she can get back into the
Petition.
Thank you, Matt, for your service too. Very important to all of us. so we can go ahead. Oh, we've got some entertainment ready. Perfect.
Sisters and brothers, let's welcome our sister Mary Beth Munyon, past patron from Santa Clara and Valley Star.
When the rain is blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case, I could offer you a warm embrace to make you feel my love. When the evening shadows and the stars appear, and there is no one there to dry your tears, I could hold you for a million years to make you feel my love. I know you haven't made your mind up yet, but I would never do you wrong. I've known it from the moment that we met, no doubt in my mind where you belong. I go hungry, I go black and blue, I go crawling down the avenue. No, there's nothing that I wouldn't do to make you feel my love. The storms are raging on the rolling sea and on the highway of regret. The winds of change are blowing wild and free. You ain't seen nothing from me yet. I could make you happy, make your dreams come true. No, there's nothing that I wouldn't do. Go to the ends of the earth for you to make you feel my love. To make you feel my love.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Mary Beth and Evelyn, for doing that for us.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Thank you. Can we get a song from the choir at this time?
the kids are up to something.
Right.
Where's the orange microphone?
Going down. Sorry guys, we're moving. Yeah. I'm gonna see. You'll hold that one. It's aiming up, but that's okay. Everybody's looking at the ceiling going, what are we looking at? Okay. Excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me. Excuse me, pardon me. I didn't know about this one. I gotta go look it up. Did you get Mary Beth? Uh-huh. Hi, ladies.
Those sort of look like hot seats. Would the grand choir like to do a number?
Okay, I've got here. New tripod.
Happiness is being a snowball, snow plows on long hauls, dog house at night. Happiness is wearing our Converse, practice and rehearse, getting it wrong. Happiness is seeing our siblings both day and night. And happiness is being friends for life. Happiness is traveling with Buddy, Olaf and Buster, Elmo and Sroll. Happiness is dressing like snowmen, dancing with youth groups, snowball fights too. Happiness is seeing our siblings both day and night. And happiness is being friends for life. Happiness is our special headbands. They make us happy too. For happiness is mom and dad and a year of so much fun. 'Cause we love you.
We don't have a microphone, but
We do have a microphone. Gary, will you do the honors?
It's now designated as the authorized crying spot. Now,
For both Martha and Terry.
to use the spot also. That's your name on it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Has been awesome. Our Bruce is so much, and that is a go.
Thank you so much, you guys. Love you all so much. It's been so much fun traveling this year and all the things we've done. It's been so much fun.
Okay, so now those who have to give reports after that. Suzanne, are you back in here yet? You are waving? Not that I can see you waving. I can see that far back. Okay, we'll move on. Let's see.
All right, guys. We'll be back for their farewells.
Sister Donna and Brother John Herring